Well, good evening, everyone. What an honor it is for my father and myself to be seated here, the mothership Davidoff of London, with the one and only Diego Lanza.
Good evening.
Diego, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
As many of you may know, or some of you may know, last year, 2020, was our 40th anniversary. In fact, 29th of May 1980, the doors to this shop were first opened by my father, Zeno, and others. Some of you who are watching perhaps were there as well. And we've been incredibly fortunate and lucky to have lasted all this time, to have been able to serve our customers loyally, I hope well, and to have got to the benchmark where we can celebrate our 40th anniversary. So last year, knowing it was going to be our 40th anniversary, we wanted to produce some very special mementos, souvenirs of those milestones. So back in 2018, we started speaking with Davidoff about producing a very special cigar, which we've done, and we will come on to a little later. But also around that period, Diego, who is a dear friend as well, and a true connoisseur of all things whiskey, sat down with us, and I said, Diego, I have a problem with my father. We have a problem. We need a whiskey to really celebrate our 40th anniversary, to be a companion not just to the cigar we're going to make for the occasion, but also for all the cigars that we may enjoy and like to enjoy throughout our days and years. So can you help us? Diego furrowed his brow. Do you remember? Do you remember, Diego?
I do
You
remember.
scratched your head, you said, leave it with me. Infamous words. A few weeks passed and I thought, perhaps Diego's forgotten, or maybe he's got busy. And to be honest, we were all busy with our lives. One afternoon he turned up with a small bag of little glass bottles. Nothing to write home about in the appearance. They were very nondescript little bottles, but inside each were some extraordinary liquids. And this is really where I would like to begin, or hand over to Diego to continue that story, because we tasted many and settled on one. And Diego, without you, without Elixir, without Speciality drinks, the project could not have happened, would not have happened. We are so proud of it, but we know very little about whiskey except what we like to taste. So may I ask you to talk us through this project,
Sure.
and in particular explain this whiskey to us?
Absolutely. So as Eddie said, again, we were all kind of busy and our lives were very different before, COVID-19. So we started working on the project and thinking about, as Eddie said, we want to do something. We want to do a bottle. We want to have a product of which is going to be whiskey, and we started from there. So I went back with my colleagues at Speciality and Elixir Distillers, which is the bottler company of specialty drinks. And as I usually do, I went to my director Sugenda and I said, look, these dear friends of mine, they are, one of the best and most renowned establishment in the whole of London and around the world. So they're marking the 40th anniversary and they want to do something very special for this occasion. So we started thinking about which liquids, and at the beginning we were thinking of cognacs, rums as well, to kind of evaluate as an option. But then I said, look, I think that it makes sense that we would do a whiskey, and preferably single malt. And at that time, Sukhinda came back to me and he said, look, I've got a couple of things, but one is really special, and if it fits for them, for all the better. So when I came back that afternoon, we had 2 or 3 different single malts, and to give you a little bit more information and behind the scenes of the evolution, there was as well a blended malt, and the blended malt and this Glenrothes, they were the only 2 distilled in 1980, which meant killing 2 birds with a stone of making it the same year of distillation when the shop opened. So we tried the different whiskies, and then I said, look, for me, this is the right one. I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Not only because for me, it's got the right balance to go with cigars, but as well because it really is a beautiful, beautiful whiskey. So I remember that when we opened the little sample and we poured it, there was absolutely like no doubt. There was no, thoughts or anything. I remember Ed was just saying like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. And Eddie was following suit, and we were just like, you know what? It's just showing so well, and it's just perfect. And from then we started obviously working on the rest, which is again another challenging task of the packaging, so the bottle and the box and so forth.
I should add, Diego, that you were amazing, because my father's palate, really reflecting the 40th anniversary of his baby,
Yep.
And my palate to some degree as well. We both enjoy the sweeter, fruitier side of the whiskey spectrum when it comes to cigars. And it was amazing, because I thought you were going to come back with heavily peated and smoked whiskies, as often people think that's the right pairing for a cigar, but we disagree. And you came back with exactly.
Yeah, because the other thing is, a lot of people, they think, or again, they really enjoy to see not only what sometimes probably happens well with the cigars, which is dark Maduro wrappers. So a lot of other people that obviously enjoy pairing whiskies and cigars, they tend to go as well for the heavily sherried kind of taste. But for me, it's all about, again, the balance, and everything has to just complement each flavors of the cigar and the whiskey. So this one, for example, was chosen as well because it just touched all the right notes, if you see what I mean. So distilled in 1980, single cask. So and as I said before, the distillery is Glenrothes, so Speyside Distillery. Usually Glenrothes, especially today, since it's been bought back by Edrington, which is the owners of Macallan, they've decided to go and really do a premium kind of face for Glenrothes, and really focusing more on the sherry maturation. But in this case, this whiskey, it's been wholly matured in a bourbon hogshead. So for people that might not know, hogshead is give or take circa 250 liters, and after 39 years of resting and nurturing in the wood, only 139 bottles were produced on the single cask.
And Diego, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
We got to 39 years because technically, right? It was. When did it go into the bottle?
Yeah. So that's the other thing that I really appreciate as well, especially from Edo and Eddie. They just said, I want it now, because this is the taste. And what I said to them is, it would make sense to just wait, give or take 6 months. So just postpone the release that is going to be after your anniversary, but make it a 40-year-old. But as far as it goes with whiskies, the more you wait, I mean, after 40 years, obviously the change is really small, but there is going to be some changes. So if the flavor that they fell in love, it's going to be even slightly changed, it's probably not going to be the same. And they didn't want to take the risk, and the beauty of it is that it's like it is a testament of the pursuit of just what is best for the moment. And this was a great choice because, yet again, the liquid was perfect at that time, and we decided to bottle it then. Yeah. So we needed to wait another 5 or 6 months before it was turning like 40-year-old. But for me, it was a great choice to just bottle it as it is.
And it's not sort of, it doesn't burn the throat, right? It's
absolutely
not crazy cask strength.
Absolutely, because with cask strength and with single cask maturation, you will always have what is called angel share in general when you mature in whiskey and when you mature spirits in wood. But every cask is different. So you might have a cask that is here, and after 40 years, it's going to be bottled at 52%, and the cask next to it is this one, which is 44.8. It's just like the beauty of the natural element, we can say. But at the same time, because I love cigars and I love whiskey, I find myself, when it's a natural cask strength or natural strength below the 50%, so like this one is 44.8, it just marries perfectly whenever you're sipping and puffing with a cigar. It just gives you the perfect experience, which is, it's not going to be too powerful, it's not going to numb your palate where you go, so it just goes from the start to finish. It's just, you know, the lubricant that keeps you company while you're smoking your cigars.
Wonderful. Diego, may I invite you to perhaps start opening the bottle? If I would normally pour it for you, but in your presence,
this is, you know, it's my.
It will taste even better if it's not from your.
You've probably noticed we've nibbled into this bottle already.
A little bit.
It's number 4 of, it was 179 bottles.
Sorry, 179.
179 bottles.
Not 139.
I have to add, when we were first talking about doing this, thank you very much, Diego, my father and I thought, let's do a 40 bottle to celebrate the 40 years run. And of course, when this was tasted, we said, well, how many bottles are in this barrel? And Diego said, well, we think about 170 odd bottles. And then we looked at each other and we thought, well, we wanted to do 40, but I cannot go to sleep knowing that there's more of this amazing whiskey.
The temptation was great.
Yes. So really unintentionally, there's no magic reason why we went with 179, except that was as much as we could get out of the barrel.
I think he did squeeze the barrel.
We broke up the staves and, you know, we gave it to Eddie just to squeeze every single drop. Just wonderful. Just touching base again on the presentation, what our which you met obviously, our director of creations at Speciality Drinks, Raj, did for this project was just great. So I brought him along in the shop, and having obviously a word with the men themselves and Eddie, just to see what was as well the soul of this product. We knew the body, it was working and is working perfectly, but we wanted to make sure that yet again this was the perfect homage to this establishment, to this shop. So what we've done is we selected this beautiful decanter, and we have engraved the Eros Sahakian logo, and you have all the information here of the bottle saying obviously 39-year-old, 1918 and 2020 is the days of the 40th anniversary. Each one of them has been hand engraved, so it's not the case when you see, for example, single cask saying is one of 180 and all of them have the same label. Every single bottle has been engraved with their own specific number. So as Eddie was saying, this is number 4 of 179, and then you will have 5, 6, and so forth.
It's a gorgeous bottle. I love the design.
It's simple, but it's, you know, very, how can I say, Art Deco / minimalistic.
It's actually exactly what you said. It is a decanter.
Yeah. And we were just looking like, yet again, simplicity, but with style and elegance. And you can't really see everything, but we selected as well the golden wax for the closure. And then moving into the box, what Raj has done, it was just reflecting the ambience and the surrounding of the shop that's been here for 40 years. So the main colors were like the gold, brass kind of plate, as you can see on the finishes of the shop of the furniture, the dark tint on the wood, very much like the other details of the shop. And then when we come inside the box, we have a detail that is going to be reflected as well on the box of the cigars. So you have number 35, which is the number of the shop, obviously outside the door. So this represents the doors of Davidoff, always welcoming. So with 2 little pipes over here in golden, and inside you're going to have all the details in terms of tasting notes and the details of the bottle. And then we've selected as well to do the inside green, very much like, again, like the main color of the shop. And as you told me, if I'm not saying something wrong. White, gold, and green was the old.
Yes, that's
trademark?
correct. Green and gold in particular at that time in 1980 were the colours for Davidoff. It's been superseded by several generations of updates on design. And the little pipe handles you noticed on the door of number 35 St James's Street, those are real door handles. So we have them, and if we ever leave this location, they're going with us. we wanted to capture them both with this and, of course, the cigar.
Yeah, that's the beauty. Like the design, as we said, it's simple, but it captures every single little detail that really represents Davidoff London.
Wonderful, Diego. A toast to you.
Thank you.
To Speciality, to Elixir Distillers.
And a big thank you.
And a huge thank you for making this project happen.
This has been, again, my honor and an absolute pleasure doing this for you and with you, obviously. So, cheers.
For the novice like me, how best to taste this whiskey?
So, this, it's your choice. For me, for example, it's, as we said before, it's at a perfect strength, which allows you just to go for it. So, not really going with water or ice, but yet again, as I'm always saying to every customer since I started back in the days in the shop at the Whiskey Exchange, once you once you buy the bottle and you open it, the way you want to enjoy it, it's absolutely correct. You do whatever you want. My humble opinion, it would be obviously to have something like a sherry copita or a tulip glass like this, as Eddie cleverly provided, and just swirl around a little bit so you're coating the inside of the glass. So when you're nosing it, go gentle because you're still nosing a spirit. It's not like wine. So you want to inhale slowly. So otherwise you're just burning your nostril, and then for a little while you won't be able to smell a lot, smell a great deal, but go back and forth 2 or 3 times. Just give it time, because yet again, the more there will be in the glass, the more it will evolve as well, because the oxygen comes in contact with the liquid and it will just like open up like a flower. Very much like, as we said before, like a wine, but it goes with every spirit and every wine. This, it's been now, more than a year since I've tried it last time, and it's still exactly as I remember it. So, for geeks like me, this is really special because it encompasses really what old whiskey used to be. So, even today, everything is produced very well, and you have some gems, and you have very good quality. But there is a certain aspect and a certain character in old whiskies that you can just recognize straight away, and that is this sort of really humid cellar, mustiness and dust that just sits on all the different layers that you get straight from the nose. That I remember they will reflect as well on the palate, which is beeswax, it's got apricot, it's jammy, it's got this really light fruit, a little bit of tea leaves, something that is very peculiar of Glenrothes. You have as well a creamy caramelly note, very, I'm going to say, what we call the S-word, smooth, which is, something that has been used and misused by many, but it is, it's something that when you smell it, you have as well like a sensory feeling that you can almost touch. When you smell, like it's really dense and velvety, I would say.
Yeah, something I picked up on my first tasting, which I hadn't previously, and I don't know if it's because the bottle's been open a few months ago.
Could well be.
There's a hint of peat there. Is it peat, like sort of, that, which I don't remember tasting before, but it's amazing.
I remember that. It's sometimes, when you have to remember that every cask is charred inside. So what they do, they burn the inside of the cask to actually, it is what it is, caramelizing the cask. So you will get all these compounds, which is lactones, vanillin, that obviously they're going to impact and as well kind of filtrate the liquid. So it removes the harshness from the new spirit, and the more it goes on, the more obviously will influence the liquid. I totally agree. This is the beauty, as I was saying, of old whiskey. Whether they use a little bit of peat on when drying the malted barley, perhaps possible. But for me, it's just like the perfect combination of the element outside. So when you're maturing whiskey, obviously you have the this is why you have the angel share. The liquid is traveling back and forth from the stave, so it's going out. It's the air and obviously the seasons are going to obviously come into the cask. So there is so much magic that happens, and as well, like in 4 decades, there is a lot going on. So whether this was peated or not, slightly, again, possible. But for me, it's just more the evolving of the oak and the contact of the liquid with the oak over 4 years. And this is why for me it's magical, because it just hits all the spots. It's got the soft spice, it's got the fruit, it's got this little bit of oak / peat smokiness, if you want, but nothing like peaty whiskey, for example, like from Isla, so Jolafroids or Ardbeg and so forth. It's just that little touch that just gives another layer of complexity, this is why, you know, when we tried this whiskey, we were smoking back then it was an Habanos, but we just said, wow, I mean, this is just perfect, because you could still feel all the aromas and the taste of the tobacco and the cigar, as well as the whiskey. So we just said, this is it. This is the one.
Diego, question, you've talked about this, that it's been entirely rested, aged in a ex-bourbon cask.
Sure.
What is that versus a sherry cask that Glenrothes normally do? What does that bring to the blend, or how does that change the dynamic?
Yeah, so to give you just a little brief introduction, obviously when we're talking about single malts and we're talking about bourbon casks and sherry casks, these casks or barrels, they've been seasoned with a previous content, which in this case, for sake of argument, it could be bourbon or sherry, which means a certain spirit or fortified wine has been aging in the cask for a number of years. Then the cask is emptied, breaking into states, and then sent to Scotland, and then sold to the whiskey trade. So usually what you have today is 90% of what is sitting and maturing in Scotland, it's maturing in bourbon wood because of availability and price as well. Back in the days, for example, what we refer to the golden era of whiskey distillation, where you have distilled whiskey from the 50s, the 60s and 70s, and especially because the consumption in the UK was so prominent back then, the sherry casks availability where there was much more availability in terms of sherry casks. Nonetheless, moving into what gives into the taste, obviously they're completely 2 different products. So with bourbon, because it's when you, for example, drink just bourbon, you can detect straight away what that wood will give to a single malt. So drinking bourbon is what we said before, is that vanilla-driven, really, thick, powerful, sweet, spicy whiskey. When instead it's sherry, it's obviously something that is going to be more resinous, more dried fruit, nutty as well, depending on the sherry. Was it Padre Jimenez? Was it Polo Rosso? And so forth. So bourbon usually is a bit more kind of gentler. And then this, for example, we don't know if it was a first fill bourbon. So if it was the single malt was poured just straight after bourbon, or the cask was used a couple of times with single malts and then refilled with, again, new make again. So usually the life of a cask spans between, in years I wouldn't know because then it depends, but usually a cask is filled 3-4 times more or less. Then you see even people that use like 5-6 times, but then it's down to the distillers and to the makers. But bourbon in that sense gives you a slightly softer, slightly a different type of fruit, different type of spice to the whiskey. So which for me just was the perfect choice for this whiskey. So
wow, Diego, thank you. We've talked about it, but now I can't resist anymore. The part of the raison d'être, of course, of this dram is to pair with a beautiful cigar that we worked with Davidoff very, very closely to bring into existence. If I may, I'll touch on to that.
Absolutely.